right, welcome to another edition of Paterno Presser here at AltoonaMirror.com. Cory Geiger, Neil Rudel. Big win, Neil, over Michigan. First of all, let's get to that game. First time in 13 years, snap a 5-game losing streak at the Big House. That's got to be a really good win for this Penn State program.
I mean, I think it was about as good a win as they've had, and maybe going back to the '94 season. I mean, because I was trying to look at what game were they the most impressive in. And I'm not talking about Minnesota, Illinois type games, even though they've lost some of those games. I think you got to go back 10 or 12 years to probably when they played Ohio State, had to come back here. They were ranked second. Ohio State was ranked 7th in '97. They remained undefeated and ultimately led to the loss to Minnesota or loss to Michigan. But they were that impressive to me defensively and offensively.
Joe said after the game on Saturday that he thinks this team is getting to be good. He knows that this team has a lot of potential. He said again today at his press conference that you can kind of start to tell when a team is going to start to turn the corner and start playing well. Have we seen that at this point? Is this team really peaking at this point and going forward playing well?
Well, I think that was a great step last week, but I think we're still going to see this week. And I thought Joe was pretty edgy today, maybe more edgy than he's been all year. And that's because I think their maturity is really going to be, and leadership are going to be tested this week. You're coming off a big win against Michigan. You're still on the road, and yet you have Ohio State coming. So I think the maturity and leadership are going to be tested this week.
This is that proverbial trap game, but frankly, you would think there'd be a little bit of a better opponent if you were going to risk an upset. Is Northwestern good enough to take advantage of a team that maybe isn't quite as focused as it would be for Michigan or Ohio State? Because I can see the players coming in, maybe they're not quite as focused. I just don't know that Northwestern is good enough to take advantage of it anyway.
Well, I mean, when you say take advantage, you're probably right in the sense that I don't know that Northwestern can win, but can Penn State really afford to, as well as they're playing, as much as they have going for them? You wrote yesterday about some possible bowl scenarios. People are beginning to think about that right now. They can't afford to let Northwestern hang around and be unimpressive and then pull out a win and really feel that they're continuing momentum. So I think it is a trap game in that sense.
We have a story on this in Thursday's Mirror about the 2005 game. Penn State drove the field in the final minutes to score a winning touchdown. I just finished talking with Mark Brennan from FightOnState.com. He ranks that win as the biggest turning point for the program of this decade. Pat Boland, and this is in FightOnState.com, Pat Boland picked the goal line stand against Indiana. Mark Brennan picked the Northwestern victory, which I see as you lose that game in week 3 or 4 in 2005, who knows where that season goes. You were there in Evanston. How big of a win was that at the time?
Well, I think it was a real big win because the program was on the verge of crumbling at that point, at least in terms of, everybody was after Joe. There were a lot of questions about Michael Robinson's ability as a quarterback. He had fumbled 4 or 5 times. I think he might have fumbled 3 or 4 times in that game. That was real important to be able to pull out that win, and became a springboard. They beat Ohio State here that year. Nobody really expected them to be as good in 2005 as they were and as they became. And had they lost that game, it's hard to tell.
You look at this game, Northwestern runs an intriguing style of offense, a lot of no-huddle, very quick. They do a lot of quirky things. Do you think it'll give Penn State a lot of problems, or do you think Penn State's defense comes in and shuts them down?
Well, I mean, Michigan gave them some problems early on with the no-huddle, and I think that is a test for a defense. And the other thing is, when you travel 2 weeks in a row, I think there is a little bit of a factor in that of a team getting tired. I'll be curious, whether they have their legs. Last year, they lost to Iowa's consecutive road trips. They beat Ohio State and lose to Iowa the next week. So I think they have to prove this year that they can have 2 quality performances on the road consecutively.
What kind of score you have?
I picked it 30-12. I do think this defense has kind of come into its own, playing with a lot of confidence. As was mentioned in the press conference, younger players feeding off older players and vice versa. So I say 30-12.
I'm pretty close. I'm going to go a little bigger, though, 34-13. Northwestern's offense can do some things, but I think Penn State's front seven is just so good they'll be able to get to the quarterback and prevent them from making many plays downfield. And I don't think Northwestern, as with most teams, will be able to run the ball on Penn State. So 30-12, 34-13. Those are our predictions. Thanks for tuning in to our Paterno Presser. We'll be here every week throughout the football season at AltoonaMirror.com.